So the Aikido Economics, what is it? First of all, it's an economic development strategy. So every community, every organization or municipality in North America has an ECDev department. Economic development is top of mind for everyone. Aikido Economics on its own is an economic development strategy. It's a bridge from the finance-based economy to the resource-based economy. It is a platform for all the organizations in the world to align themselves onto to bring ourselves to a different type of society, and it is temporary. Once we cross the bridge, metaphorically cross the bridge, all of this that you're going to see here would be unnecessary. This is kind of a moot section. I don't think any of us need to know why things need to change. Finance-based economy does work terrifically. It just doesn't work terrifically for everyone, right? And we can do better. How we do Aikido Economics, how we don't do it is we don't oppose money or finance-based economy. Aikido Economics does not oppose these things. It does not force any ideals. You need to believe this or believe that. It doesn't oppose or it doesn't force any of those, and it doesn't rely on benevolence or kindness or volunteerism or any of those things. What it actually does is it accelerates aspects of capitalism beyond what it can deal with, right? And this is where the Aikido part comes from. Aikido is the martial art that uses your opponent's energy to your advantage. So rather than going against the grain, going against the finance-based economy, we pull it and accelerate it faster than what it can deal with. So we'll start with the basic capitalist business model. Humans at the top do stuff, and the corporation is the mechanism that turns human production into money. So money is a representation of human effort. Some of that human effort gets paid back to the person, right? So if a person does $1,000 worth of human effort, corporation takes some of it just for its own operations, and maybe pays $100 worth of that person's human effort back to the person. And in this way, the corporation, using money, siphons, in this example, 90% of the original human effort. The entire goal of this business model is to siphon off as much as possible, right? Extract as much human effort, money, from the person as possible, lean the corporation so it uses as little as possible so that the private shareholder can extract as much of this human effort as possible. So in this way, money is the tool that siphons human effort. So this is the system that we use today. Some of its limits, it's a self-terminating model. It doesn't only extract human effort, it extracts resources. We all know that. The saying I like is when the last apple is picked, capitalism is dead too. All right? It's short-sighted in that way. It has a two-dimensional perception. It's only able to perceive in isolated fragments. Each corporation knows its corporation. It doesn't have a direct connection. It doesn't have a connection to another corporation. It can only see within its walls. And it's unable to perceive depth. If, let's say, a factory is dumping sludge out in the creek or in the creek out back, the corporation cannot see that how it's affecting the town downstream. It can't see that people are getting sick or any of these sorts of things. The people who work in the corporation can tell, but the corporation itself can't see these things. It might be able to see just a tiny bit because workers are coming in sick or they're using up all their benefits, etc. But for the most part, a corporation cannot perceive any depth. It also has a one-dimensional way of thinking. You're either growing or shrinking, right? There's no option in there, and it uses logic only. Not that logic is bad, but if you limit it only to logic, you're limiting yourself. So these are some of the issues with the capitalist model. Some of the things that we're accelerating of the capitalist model is wealth accumulation. So the more money you have, the more opportunity you have in this environment. We also accelerate equity, which is ownership of things. Because you could have every dollar in the world, but if you don't own anything, you don't have a say. And we also accelerate self-interest. And this might be the biggest deviation from most or all of the other solutions out there, is we're not relying on benevolence or kindness or volunteerism or any of those sorts of things. We're actually accelerating self-interest. We're not going against the grain of thought. We'll see where that ends up going. So we start by adopting the worker-owned business model, the co-op. So this green slide is identical to the brown slide. Humans do stuff. The co-op is now the mechanism that turns human effort into money. Wages get paid back to the person. But what was siphoned off by the private shareholder is actually rerouted back to the person. So even if the company is hyper lean and the human is getting paid peanuts for wages, all of what was extracted goes back to the person anyways. So it's a closed system. This is a reroute. This reroutes wealth, which is opportunity. It also reroutes decision-making power, which is equity. So this becomes the foundation of the entire Aikido Economics model. The individual benefits most when the community benefits first. So if I want something better, my best pathway is to support my neighbor or my coworker, right? Now we apply something called the accounting switch. And it's basically rerouting wages from getting paid to the person, put it back into the company. And what happens is it increases the capacity of the co-op, that mechanism. But since the people are owners and get paid by the function of that co-op, they end up getting paid more, or they end up benefiting more than if they were getting paid a wage, right? So what this does is we've rerouted wealth and ownership, and now what we've done is we've accelerated that rerouting. So financial benefits to the business. If it's a startup, it'll lower startup costs because you don't have a wage expense. It offers more capital for production. And you can maximize margins in this way. And by maximizing margins, all of this brings you to simply getting more money. So the individual simply gets more. So if you were to put two businesses, identical businesses, but one is run with as a worker-owned model using the accounting switch, and the other is a traditional capitalist model, everything else is absolutely identical. This model, the Aikido Economics, person will get more money. And so what this does is it brings involvement, right? If you are doing that and you're getting more money than your neighbor, but you're doing the exact same thing, that's pretty exciting, right? And it starts bringing people from the old style, the old clunky model, into this new style. It starts encouraging participation. And this is what it looks like, right? This is as difficult as it is. Salaries is typically an expense, right? It's in the list of expenses there. Cut line 17 and paste it in line 32, right? Instead of it being an expense that draws from the company, use that money to benefit the company and then distribute the salary from the increased bottom line. So what this does is it frees up money for things like inventory, marketing, sales, research, all the things that make the company benefit, leading to more sales, leading to higher profit. You get a bigger paycheck, right? This slide right here is this slide, but just cleaned up, so it's not so confusing, but it's the same routing. The next thing we do is apply something called pay with product, right? So the example I like is if you work in a sock factory, right? One could forfeit $10 in pay to get a $15 pair of socks. So in the old capitalist way of doing it, you would forfeit $15 of your pay to the store to get a $15 pair of socks. In this model, you could forfeit only 10 of that to get a pair of socks. So you're up $5. So now what you've done is you've reduced your household expenses by $5 in this case. By doing this, this also financially benefits the business because it reduces the cost of marketing, shipping, packaging, inventory, all these things. If this sock factory needed to sell 100 pairs a day and 15 of those are already spoken for, now the sock factory only needs to deal with selling 85. It's making the business more efficient. And because you are part owner and you get paid by the bottom line, because you're reducing your household expenses, that is exactly why you end up getting more money, right? So we start getting layers of exponential growth or benefit to the person. This creates a focus shift where if someone is getting paid in goods, whether it's socks or bicycles or TVs or whatever it is, the connection starts getting made, right? I don't need money for a pair of socks. I want the socks. I want good socks. I don't want crap socks. I don't want to have, so that connection, the direct connection starts getting made. And this is what it looks like on paper. Simply add a line underneath your salary or below the bottom line anyways, to account for what you've been paid in product. So what this does to the business, it's more predictable sales, less waste. You might have fewer interest payments and fewer bad debts fewer bad debts. So by making a hyper lean business, that's how you'll get an even bigger paycheck, right? So this is the Aikido side of it, where this is all self-incentivized. The individual wants more and wants better. That's their direct pathway is to help their company and their neighbor. That's their best pathway to get more. Give it a little bit of time, right? It starts so more and more things are paid with product. It starts turning into a production management thing rather than so instead of a what can we sell, it's a what do we need question. And this builds in a stewardship, right? It's what I was just talking about. If I want good socks, well, I want happy sheep, right? If I want a good table, I want clean forest. Those sorts of things. It builds in a natural stewardship. So we don't have to force or encourage or anyone to be a tree hugger. It naturally gets built in through that's what they'll want. And then next generation, right? Just give this so that the person who was born today, they're getting their first job when they're 15 years old. This connection, this is what they learn, right? This becomes a responsibility shift. So instead of them trying to get out there and make it on their own, their first responsibility is to society and the natural world, because that's how they get the best. And if you want to know how far away this might be, cooperativism was based 250 years ago or whatever, was actually the workers' answer to capitalism when it was invented, I guess, in the industrial age. So we have tons and tons of information on worker-owned models. It's not new. The accounting switch is actually commission, right? I just called it something different. It's widely accepted. We have a ton of experience on a commission. It's not a new thing. And this pay with product concept is a pro deal. It's employee pricing. It's in-kind trade. This stuff happens all the time, everywhere, widely accepted. Nothing has been invented here, but if you put it in the right order for the right purpose, you get Aikido Economics. Somewhere along the line, we hit a tipping point where the focus changes from money to, well, stuff or reality, physical reality. And it's probably when enough people start saying, why am I saving up to pay for the stuff that I already have? Like, that just becomes too big of a discrepancy, and the money concept goes away. Give it a bit of time, next generation. If you think from the next generation looking back, how many kids do you think are going to say, you know what, this is a great life, but I really want to go back to what Grandpa did and, work 80 hours a week for bare minimum and have absolutely no control over my life? I think I'm going to go back to that. It's just not a thing that'll happen, right? So the first 3 steps we practice, and then we give it time, and that's it. Eventually we get to something called, we get to the resource-based economy. And when we're in the resource-based economy for long enough, it's no longer a resource-based economy. It's just life.
Hey, thanks for watching. If any of this has piqued your interest and you find your intuition nudging you to learn more, visit activateus.org. We offer books, more video modules like this one, and even training programs for a deeper understanding of the bridge. If you'd like to support our work, feel free to browse our store, where you'll find a range of items with bridge branding and other thought-provoking and empowering designs. You can also support us through Buy Me a Coffee, donate monthly through Patreon, or contribute a larger amount to help kickstart one of our next projects. More than anything though, humanity needs more people and communities putting the bridge into action. So, if you find this intriguing and feel called to look into implementing the bridge in your area, definitely give us a shout. We have a support network in place and plenty of resources to help you begin. Society's evolution won't wait. It's happening now whether any of us are ready for it or not. The only question is who will be participating and who will be sitting on the sidelines.